get so much crap for this review, but I don't care. That's the best way I can sum it up, because I'm just going to tell you right now, I am not one of those troglodytes on the internet that is going to rip this movie apart, because I don't agree with it. In fact, I think its hate is so beyond overblown that it's kind of funny. Now, does that mean it's perfect? No, it's got some flaws, but I gotta say, I do not agree with the general consensus on this one at all. Sure, you can call it bias, because this is the grand return of Sam Raimi, the director of the original 3 Spider-Man movies, to Marvel after decades of doing other things. He comes back, and, even better, Marvel gives Sam full creative control. And they pretty much told him to make an MCU version of a horror movie. It is as badass as it sounds. Trust me. The reviews you've heard online, no. This is one of those where I feel like I'm going to be completely alone on this opinion. Or at least I thought so when I made this written review. But the comment section has proved me otherwise. So, I am part of a small margin of people that actually think this is one of the better entries in the MCU, and a pretty damn good horror film on its own. Like, I already praised Moon Knight for its delve into the horror genre, but how do you think I feel when you take the horror genre and you mix it with the surrealism of Doctor Strange? And then you add in Sam Raimi's directing on top of that. Who is a horror master most well known for, of course, the Evil Dead franchise. Imagine Evil Dead in the MCU had a twisted love child. That is what you get with this one. So what's up? What's happening? What's going on, everybody? Welcome back to Animation Station, which is for anything and everything animation, including TV and movies, and especially horror films. I am your local horror nut, Jackson Small. Welcome back to Marvelous May, and welcome to our continuous dive into the horror side of the MCU, with Doctor Strange 2, Multiverse of Madness. And in my opinion, this movie is freaking awesome. Like, this is what Phase 4 was missing. Something to really just kick it into high gear. Something that really helps it feel unique and stand out from everything that came out before it. Yes, Moon Knight was when they started to dive into that horror genre. And yeah, you could maybe argue that Infinity War kind of counts as a horror movie because it's about all the heroes losing in the end. But no, this is the first true delve into the horror side of the Marvel Cinematic Universe. And it is one of the strongest entries in the entirety of Phase 4. Which, I don't know if you've noticed or not from the previous reviews, but so far it's sucked ass. So, it really needed this kick in the ass to actually become something worth remembering. And this did everything that I wanted to do personally. And even then some. I think it did some extra cool things that I wasn't even expecting it to do. All ending with a finale that is absolutely metal as hell. So, there's a bit to talk about here. Let's get into the written review now. Here are my hot take thoughts on Doctor Strange 2 Multiverse of Madness, and why I think you need to watch it. Here we go. I'm gonna get shredded for this, and I know that this is more than likely just my horror fanatic side talking here. Like, I completely admit that there is bias here because I am a horror nut. But I don't care. I'm gonna say this with both honesty and a great amount of pride. Doctor Strange 2 Multiverse of Madness is a fantastic, full-on, unrelenting, unapologetic horror entry into the MCU. Cumberbatch is still great, especially playing multiple different versions of Strange, both good and bad. Scarlet Witch is a much better villain than the previous one. Like, the previous villain of the first Doctor Strange, did not like him. Don't get me wrong, I love Mads Mikkelsen. He is one badass son of a bitch, but he just was not cut out for that role very well, and it didn't really help his performance much. So because of that, he kind of suffered and became a very mediocre villain. However, having a character like Scarlet Witch, who is going through significant character development by this point, and all the other entries in the MCU, having her as the main antagonist, it is effective. And more often than not, she is actually downright scary. Well, I'm sure it's not going to faze actual horror fans at all, but people of the MCU, you are in for a rude awakening, because when Scarlet turns evil, it is some of the scariest shit that you will ever see, because she will literally go through anyone and everyone to get what she wants. Sam Raimi's incredible directing returns in full force. Sam Raimi, this dude, is one of the most talented and underappreciated directors in all of Hollywood. Sure, the horror genre, we give this man the respect that he's due. And sure, Spider-Man fans, we also give him his well-due respect. Unless you're a millennial that doesn't know what a good movie is. But the rest of the world, Sam has not really gotten the best of reactions, because some of the things that he's attached his name to as of late have not been very good. However, this is one of those entries that shows that even all these years later, he's still got it. Sam is in his wheelhouse here, and he just gets to make a full-on, crazy, balls-to-the-wall, batshit insane horror movie that just also happens to be a part of the MCU by pure obligation. So, Sam is an amazing director, and that all shows all throughout this movie. More often than not, every time I saw something imaginative in this movie, not only did I know it was from Sam, but it really felt like he had harnessed everything he's learned over the years from directing the Evil Dead movies, up to the remake and Rise, of course, where it was someone else, and turned it into a mastercraft of being able to build suspense, tension, incredible creepy imagery, and genuine scares. Like, this movie isn't like the scariest thing ever or anything like that, but it does have a few moments where it is going to leave you jumpy in the best way possible. Sure, again, you can call it bias, because I am a huge Sam Raimi fan, but he is amazing in this movie, and his directing, it returns in full force, and it's incredible. Humor is great and gives levity when it's needed, especially Sam's buddy, good old Bruce Campbell, in a cameo just as funny as his ones from the OG Spider-Man trilogy. I didn't really talk about these much in my Spider-Man review, so I'll talk about it more here. In each of the Spider-Man movies, you had Bruce Campbell in a different cameo each time. In the first one, he was the wrestling ring announcer, and he lived up to the craziness you expect from Bruce Campbell in a role like that. In the second movie, he was a theater concierge, where he's the one that kept Peter Parker from going into the theater to see MJ's play, because once the doors are closed, no one's allowed in. That whole thing. And then in the third movie, he is a butler. And then in this movie, he's a hot dog salesman that ends up running into Strange and getting into a fight with his hand. Yeah, it was an obvious Evil Dead reference, but I don't care, it was funny. So, yeah, Bruce Campbell, he is great, and the humor itself is honestly great in this movie too. It's actually genuinely funny, and it gives levity when it's needed, in between all the incredible scenes of horror. The deaths and gore are absolutely brutal, and they push that PG-13 to its limit. I kid you not, this movie, it is a horror movie both by committee and out of obligation, because it does have death, and it has some serious brutality. That, yes, they do have to censor it a little because it's PG-13, but it is one of the hardest PG-13s I have seen in a while. People get cut in half, people get incinerated, people get turned into zombies and then brought back from the dead, people get ripped to shreds. People blow their freaking brains out from the inside after they lose their mouth. Like, it is vicious, it is brutal, it is unrelenting, and it is all kinds of badass. Like, seriously, the gore and deaths in this movie are brutal, and they push that limit of that rating. Like, if they went any further, it would have went straight R. But nope, that was saved for Deadpool, so unfortunately, Sam couldn't go fully all out, but he went as all out as the rating allowed him to do. The final act is amazing. It's Zombie Strange fighting Scarlet Witch with necromancy magic. How freaking metal can you get? Rewatchability is very high, at least for me. Again, horror nuts side talking. Runtime is good, pacing is consistent, and the imagery and effects are even better than the last installment, but for whatever reason, it did not get nominated for another Academy Award for its special effects. That is a damn shame, because the effects in this movie are even better than the effects from the original. And I don't say that lightly. However, it's not perfect. There are some faults with this movie that I can see other people having issues with. That being that the story itself is a little messy. It's fine for what it is, but it is messy. Its connections to WandaVision are frail at best. America Chavez is mediocre and nothing more than a plot device. And the Illuminati, while a really cool idea and concept, especially things like getting to see Patrick Stewart return as Charles Xavier, and finally getting to see him in that iconic golden floating chair that we never got to see him use in the actual Fox movies, or bring to life a fan casting that everyone has wanted for so long, as John Krasinski plays a alternative universe Mr. Fantastic, and of course we get to see the first live-action appearance of Captain Carter, and they all get killed in pretty brutal ways. Especially Black Bolt. Like that death, that is going to turn some people's stomachs, even if you don't see any blood. But they are just kind of there as the MCU version of slasher fodder. They are a really cool concept, but they don't really go further from being a really cool concept. And unfortunately, John Krasinski as Mr. Fantastic is one of those fan castings that just didn't quite work out once you saw it on screen. Something about it just really felt off. It's really hard to explain, but when you see the movie yourself, you'll understand. Overall, though, I still love this movie, and I understand that I am very alone on that one. I applaud Marvel for bringing back Sam almost 20 years after Spider-Man, and letting him go all out on the horror that he's best known for. Sure, I am more than likely alone on it, and sure, it is my horror movie fanatic side talking, and sure, huge bias because I'm a huge fan of Sam Raimi. But I will never understand the hate this movie gets from most people. It is metal as hell, it is as unrelenting as a PG-13 will allow, and I love it for it. Like, Marvel gave Sam pretty much full creative control, with nothing more than staying in the PG-13 rating. Outside of that, he was able to do whatever the hell he wanted, and even as far as PG-13 movies go, he pushed that freaking rating to its absolute limit. And I love him for it. And I love Marvel for giving him full creative reins. Because it is way better than the first Doctor Strange. It is a much more unique movie, it's a much more stylized movie, and sure, the story is messy, and some parts about it are very haphazard. But I more blame Marvel for that than I blame Sam for that, because more than likely, just like with Venom having to be in the original Spider-Man 3, Sam had to include these things out of obligation from orders up top. So, he tried his best with what he had, but some things just didn't work out, and that's just how it is. But the things that did work out are amazing. Not to mention, okay, I'll give one last little spoiler. Charlize Theron is in this movie. She's in the after credits, and she teases what could be an even greater third Doctor Strange entry in the years to come. as long as Marvel doesn't do what they do worst and ditch storylines after reception being mixed. Because for some reason, a lot of people just don't like this one. And if it's because it's like too scary or too horrific or too hardcore for most casual general audiences, I get it. I'm a huge horror nut, so I can take that, but I know not everyone is. So if you are one of those people that avoids this movie for that reason, I can understand that. However, this is, in no other certain terms, a movie that will grow hair on your balls. This is a movie that, if you want to know how much you can take before you even step into the territory of R rating, this is your perfect testing ground. If this is a movie that impacts you and makes you want to explore the world of horror, that's a great thing. But if it's something that scares you too much, or you don't really like the direction it went, I can also understand. It's a movie that was, for me, yes, and for Cody Leach as well. He's the only other person on the internet that I know of that's given this movie such a positive review. But I can understand those that don't like it. Like, the Titanic hate, I don't get, but the people that just dislike it because they don't like horror, I get. But if you are a horror fan and you have not seen this movie yet, you're doing yourself a disservice. Go watch this movie right now. You will not regret it. It is metal as hell. It will push that PG-13 to its rating. And it's the MCU going full on horror with zero apologies. It's Sam Raimi being Sam Raimi in the Marvel Cinematic Universe, and it is as badass as I was hoping it was. So, now that we are almost 20 minutes in, let's go ahead and get into the final verdict, shall we? My final verdict for Doctor Strange 2 Multiverse of Madness is a high, well-deserved, blood-splattered, and very controversial, more than likely, 8.5 out of 10. Yes, I love this movie, but I cannot quite give it a 9 because the story is so messy. Like, the story elements, if that's what people's big problem was with this movie and why they didn't like it, I get it. However, if you're one of the people that just hates it because of who's involved, yeah, no, sorry. I don't buy that for a second. However, even though I did give this a lower score than I usually do to get this kind of approval, I am going to give it that green heart because, again, well, actually, let's give it a black heart because this is a horror movie. Because, again, it is a movie that speaks to me and my horror side. And because of that, I love it for it. So, if you're a horror fan, absolutely check this out. If you're a fan of Doctor Strange, check this out. But if you're someone that's kind of lukewarm and not really into the horror genre, maybe give this one watch and see if it might work for you in other contexts. So, it's great for horror fans, but everyone else, it's kind of going to be in the middle. So, yep, hot take review, very controversial review, and probably one of the highest scores you will ever see for this movie on the internet. So, thank you guys so much for watching. More than likely my longest review of this month so far, at least in terms of Phase 4. And stay tuned because we still have a lot more Marvel to go. So, I will see you guys next time when we continue on into a movie that is bona fide dog shit. Yeah, we're not done going through the terrible crap in Phase 4 yet. We still have... This is the last bad one, right? Yep. We still have one last turd to flush down the toilet, so I'll see you guys next time for the critically and audience-ly, yes, I'm making that a word now, audience-ly, widely panned, and well-deserving of that, known as one of the worst movies of 2022, Thor, Love and Thunder.
For what comes up ahead, patient run. Can you make my wish come true? I want someone